Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel if you're a brand new viewer, or welcome back if you are a returning viewer. My name is Diamond, aka Lady Leo, and I'm so excited to talk about Agatha All Along. I wanted to wait a little bit just to give, everybody a chance to watch it. So, warning, there are spoilers in here, so if you haven't seen it, I will spoil some things. I feel like it's kind of really difficult to talk about what goes on in the show without really getting into spoilers. So this is your spoiler warning. But anyway, let's get into my thoughts on Agatha All Along. Really quickly as well, if you end up liking this video, if you don't mind hitting the subscribe button, it really helps me out. Doesn't cost you anything. Okay, moving along. So Agatha All Along. I remember hearing about this series. I guess it had to be sometime maybe like late last year that they announced that they were going to be doing the show, or like right after, maybe it was right after WandaVision. So maybe it was like a couple years ago. I kept thinking to myself, do we need this? I mean, like, I love Catherine Hahn. I've seen her in several things. I think she's hilarious, but I'm like, I wasn't checking for Agatha Harkness. And I hadn't decided if I was going to watch the show yet. And then when they sent the first trailer out, I was still kind of on the fence. And then I love New Rockstar, so I watched their breakdowns quite a bit. They did a breakdown and I was a lot more hyped because I understood more about like Agatha Harkness as a character. So I was like, okay, I'm committed. I'm going to watch the show. So I went into the show with pretty much no expectations. I didn't know that like this was part of a trilogy with WandaVision, with the final being like Vision Quest. So I didn't really have any expectations for it at all. And I ended up coming out absolutely loving this show. I think this is one of the best Marvel TV Disney Plus shows. Y'all know what I mean, okay? One of the best shows is right up there with like WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. What else are some of my favorites? Loki. How could I forget about Loki? So yeah, this show does feel very much like a continuation of WandaVision, which is fitting since it's the second entry, and it's done by the same creator, Jack Schaefer, I believe. And I kind of feel like she should have the chance to like work on all the MCU TV Disney Plus shows, because she does such a really fantastic job making sure that this show is self-contained without like setting up too much for the future of the MCU. You know what I mean? Like, this is really focused on Wanda, Vision's story, their children, and Agatha. You know what I mean? So it's hard to know if any of this will have an impact on the greater MCU. And I don't mind that. I don't always want a show that's just there for setup. Setup is great, but at the same time, like, I want you to tell a good story, which is exactly what I get out of this. I think the cast in this show is fantastic, led by Catherine Hahn. It is pretty much an all-female cast, with the exception of Joe Locke, who plays, spoiler, he plays Billy. And everybody on the cast is great. I love that the show focuses on like individual witches when it comes to like the witches' trials, the witches' road trials, I should say. So you get to spend a little time learning about that individual witch, and I love the camaraderie of like having a coven. I also think it's really good to explore magic from this vantage point. So, because like at this point in time, we've only really seen magic from the perspective of like Doctor Strange and Wong. And I get the feeling that sorcerers consider witchcraft to be sort of like a subset of magic. It is still magical, but it's a different type of magic. You know what I mean? Like when you see Strange casting, he doesn't usually cast the spell out loud, whereas they seem to do that a little bit in witchcraft. So I like to see a different aspect of sort of magic in the MCU, and that even within the magical world, there are different facets of magic. So you have witchcraft, which is separate from like sorcery. So I really enjoy getting to understand like how witchcraft works in the MCU. Speaking of the amazing cast, how could we ever forget about Aubrey Plaza? First off, I have to say it's really annoying that this is not the first time that like Funko Pop has ruined something by like releasing a Funko Pop. They released the Funko Pop maybe like 1 or 2 weeks into the show. So this is way before they revealed that Aubrey Plaza was deaf. and they released it as Death. And I'm just like, do you and Disney talk? Like, does Disney tell you you can't release this until after the show or whatever? But it's really annoying that they spoiled that for us. But Aubrey Plaza is playing the physical representation of Death, which is a perfect role for Aubrey Plaza, by the way. She has so much gravitas as an actress that, like, there's these times where she's her face is like half skeletal, and all you see is Aubrey Plaza's eyes, and she may not even be saying anything, but she has such a presence to her, and she's perfect as Death. And one of the most fascinating things about this story is really the relationship between Death and Agatha, because clearly they have some kind of romantic relationship. But it's really interesting because at the end of the show, like the pre-finale, if you will, because there's another episode after what would be considered like the normal finale, Agatha kisses Death and is literal the kiss of death. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I guess their romantic relationship was not physical. I mean, she is, I guess, couldn't have been. But anyway, it's a very interesting dynamic. And I feel like their relationship is such an important part of the series and like you believing in it. And it is believable. I think they have a really good dynamic together. And even though the show doesn't reveal like everything about their relationship, I feel like you get enough of the gist of it to sort of be invested in it, especially when you have like that last episode, which threw me for a loop because when I was watching the 2-part finale, you watch the first episode of it and you're just like, this kind of feels like what a traditional finale is in the MCU. It's punchy, there's action, we wrap up a lot of things, and I'm like, where are we going with the next episode? And we ended up going to a place which ends up being one of my favorite episodes apart from Lilia's episode, and that's where we really get a chance to kind of explore some of Agatha's backstory. It's not her whole history, but you understand what happened to Nikki, and the whole time we're thinking like the most nefarious things, that like Agatha traded him for the Darkhold, because she's certainly not stopping people from thinking that. In reality, it's really simple. He was destined to die, and Death gave Agatha more time, and just took him when he was 6 instead of when he was born. But she didn't do anything nefarious to him. He just was always destined to die, which is kind of one of those things that's so heartbreaking. Like, what would you do if that was the situation? Would you give him up at birth and not have a life with him at all, or take the time that you do have with him? So that whole thing was heartbreaking. And then you find out that the whole idea and the concept of the Witch's Road is complete fiction. It was a con created by Agatha to lure witches so that she could steal their powers. And it definitely seems like something she would do, but the whole time I was watching this, I was like, that's pretty savage. It's pretty ruthless. It's right up there with what I would expect from Agatha, but it's just sort of this realization that, we found out in the previous episode that Billy created the Witch's Road from his imagination because he is the son of the Scarlet Witch, so he does have that power, and that the Witch's Road is genuinely not real at all, at least in the MCU. In the comics, I think it's like a separate, like a pocket dimension or something like that. But it doesn't exist at all, and Agatha was just using it to steal people's powers. So it's kind of, when Billy realizes that he killed, Mrs. Davis and Alice and Lilia, he's pretty distraught. And Agatha's like, I was going to kill all of them anyway, so, at least you saved one. You saved Jen. I mean, when you think about it like that, but at the same time, I don't think that makes him feel better. He didn't kill them intentionally, you know what I mean? So, but I don't know if you can rectify that. There's a big difference between what she was going to do, which was straight up murder them, and what he did, which is killing them accidentally. But it's kind of how all of that comes full circle. And you like the whole song of the Witch's Road, like once you find out the truth, is framed so differently. And that's what's great about the show. Like every single episode is just really great storytelling and just layering on itself. And I want to go back and watch the series again. That's how good it is. You're like, knowing what I know now, I just want to watch it a second time. And you can see all of those smaller things that are Easter eggs that get laid out for you that are sort of paid off at the end, Speaking of Billy, it's a good time to segue into Joe Locke, who has quite a task on his hand. not only is he playing the version of Billy that came from the Hex, who, if you think about it, I don't know. I think the Hex was only going on for a couple of months. So Billy was technically a 10-year-old, but was only a few months old, however long Wanda had the Hex going, because he wasn't there in the very beginning. And then he came on and he was aged up. So I'm just saying that Billy was, when Wanda took down her Hex, Billy's soul was still very much alive. And as William Kaplan was dying, he took over the body of William Kaplan, but he didn't keep any of his memories. The weirdest thing is that sounds like a lot when you say it out loud, but at the same time, it feels like it makes perfect sense. You're like, okay, yeah. I mean, Billy's soul was still alive. He hopped into an empty body. Okay. You know what I mean? And then we have Billy William going on this journey where he doesn't remember who he is, and he's in the body of someone else, and he doesn't feel like he belongs because he doesn't. And it's really the journey of him realizing that he is Billy Maximoff and all that comes with that. And I really think that Joe Locke does a fantastic job, especially when he transforms into Wiccan. In my mind, I'm thinking, where'd you get that costume from? Because didn't you just leave the Witch's Road, your imaginary Witch's Road? But like, did you? I mean, but then I realized it's Wanda's son, so he just made it out of nowhere. But I think from all of Wanda's powers, the ability to warp reality, in my mind, is the most terrifying because, you know, he created an elaborate world unintentionally that was so synonymous with real life. You couldn't even tell that it was different from the real world. And he did this with things that were in his bedrooms based off lore that he had heard of on the Witch's Road. Like, that power to warp reality is so devastatingly powerful that it's pretty terrifying. You know what I mean? So maybe that's why Wanda doesn't use it a lot. When we saw her become the Scarlet Witch in, when she was in Multiverse of Madness. But even like, I think the thing that I also appreciate so much about this show is how the show keeps Wanda present in the MCU. Like, we're all like, is Wanda dead? And all of us true MCU fans are like, no. If you don't see a body, assume they're alive. Also, it's Elizabeth Olsen, and it would be a shame to just kill her like that. But I don't believe Wanda is dead. I just believe that we are getting to the point where we have earned Wanda being alive again, especially if they plan on doing a Scarlet Witch series, which long time coming. But the show they do such a great job, like incorporating Wanda in there, right? Like making sure that you never forget that Wanda is present and her actions are present. And I think it frames what happened in Multiverse of Madness even more. Like, I know a lot of people don't like Wanda's arc there, but to me, I think it makes sense considering where she was mentally and the fact that she had the Darkhold for a long time. And now she's in a place where she has that level of power where she can pretty much do anything. And people, you never really know what your limit is or like how far you'll go until you're kind of pushed past your breaking point. So I think everything that happened in Multiverse of Madness is truly possible for Wanda. If anything, I think she went easy on them because, like I said, she wasn't using that reality warping ability she has. Not really. I mean, she showed Strange, but that was just like a show and tell. She wasn't using it really in a fighting way, you know what I mean? So I just love that the show is like keeping Wanda present in the MCU, you know what I mean? Like, her actions permeate into everything, and it's just a really good thing because, like I said, we're waiting for the return of Wanda. But I think Joe Locke does a great job as Wiccan, and there's a lot of complexity that he has to play it with because and if you think about it, there's this kind of undercurrent where he knows that he's Billy, and until he realizes it's Billy, and he doesn't know is he both William and Billy, or is he just Billy in William's body? And then he kind of realizes that he is Billy and like what he's capable of. And he came to the Witch's Road for Tommy. And it'd be interesting to know if we sort of get any snippets about Tommy in Vision Quest. I sure hope so, because they sure as hell didn't tell us. We didn't even get a little sampling at the end of the series. No, we didn't have any there was no post-credit scene. I was like, dang it. I was hoping we would at least get to see what Tommy looks like, but we don't. So hopefully that will sort of carry over into Vision Quest. And I do really love where Agatha ends up as well. So Agatha's arc is that she ends up sacrificing herself in the series when she gives herself to death, but she refuses to die if you think about it, and she becomes a ghost, which I believe is comic accurate. I think in some sort of subplot with Scarlet Witch, she becomes a ghost, and she's like a guide for Wanda. So she's doing that for Billy, which I think is good. I think their dynamic is really good. They play off of each other really well. And I really like the idea of her being a ghost. Like when I saw her in ghost form, I was like, oh, we got the silver hair. She kind of looks fabulous as a ghost. So I like that for her. I like that she's really not ready to pass on, because genuinely she's just not ready to confront Nikki with what happened and really essentially who she became after he died. So she's like, well, let me just help you find Tommy. Billy, let's go searching. And that's where the show ends. And I think, to me, this is like the best place to be for like this series, which is finishing up with Vision Quest. I'm excited to see Vision Quest. Whereas before I was like, yeah, I mean, I love Paul Bettany, but I'm like, do we need it? But I'm really excited because I have no idea what that show is going to be about, where we're going to go. But I know it's going to continue the themes of what happened in WandaVision and Agatha All Along, and probably bring it all home, and maybe we'll get some Wanda back. Maybe will segue into the Scarlet Witch movie. God damn, I hope we have a Scarlet Witch movie. Elizabeth Olsen is too amazing not to give her own solo film. Okay, it's time. Maybe this is Wanda coming up from the depths of hell, or wherever the hell she is, because she's not dead. Anyway, I'm just really excited for Vision Quest. Probably not coming out till 2026, but that's okay. I can wait. So yeah. I absolutely loved this show, and I had no expectations for it, which, funny enough, is the same way that I felt about WandaVision. I mean, WandaVision set the tone for the MCU Disney Plus shows. It was the first one, and I think it came out, was it COVID? Was it pre-COVID? I think it came out right around the time COVID was popping off. And we had no idea what we were getting from that show. I mean, I didn't even know we needed a WandaVision show. They started it, and we fell in love with it. And that's how I felt about this show. I went in with no expectations, just wanting to enjoy it. And I looked forward to every single week. Every week I was excited. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Wednesday. Gotta wait till 9 o'clock. Can't wait for the show to drop. And I just loved the series. I thought it was really fantastic. And again, in the top tier of Disney Plus Marvel shows for me. To me, it's right up there with Loki. It's up there with WandaVision. I love Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I don't know if anybody's going to put it on the same level, but I do. Anyway, so if you're thinking about watching the show, or you have been sleeping on the MCU because you feel like they've not been performing lately, give the show a watch. It is worth it. It is so, so, so good. I also think one of the things that I appreciate about the show, too, is that at the end of this, I think you end up having kind of conflicting feelings about Agatha. I don't think anybody is like fully evil. I think that everybody is a product of their experiences and their environment. And I just don't think Agatha is any different. She has a lot of things that have shaped who she is. And she's also been alive for a really long time. So I appreciate that the show doesn't shy away from that violence that she's capable of, that menace, and that depravity, if you will. But they also give her moments of being very human, if you will. And those things kind of help balance her. And Catherine Hahn is fantastic. Because if you think about it, when you realize that the Witch's Road isn't true, you know that she's known this from the beginning. Because at the beginning, she was surprised. And when we sort of circle back to the episode in the finale where she was ready to kill everybody, she's like, there's a door here. You know what I mean? It's those subtle things like that. And then, Catherine Hahn is able to just really balance this comedy with this, with the dramatic scenes that she has to do. And she just kind of mixes all these things around. Sometimes Agatha is just like loud and she's just like, I'm ready for fireworks. It's time for the finale. And then other times she's just like, don't take him, please. And you're just like, what am I supposed to do with you? You're not a good person. But like I said, she's a very complex person, and I think Catherine Hahn does a great job of playing all those complexities so that you do feel conflicted about whether or not you like Agatha. I do like Agatha. I'm just saying she's not a good person, but I do like her. So yeah, the show is top tier. They have a fantastic cast. The show has real stakes as well. Like, I kept thinking maybe we'll get to the end of the Witch's Road and, you know, maybe the others will come back that have died, but nope. They died. I mean, Billy killed them unintentionally. But yeah, those three, Miss Davis, Lilia, and Alice, they stay dead. They don't come back. And it's good to see the MCU have stakes because nobody likes to see characters that you like die. I mean, I was sad when all three of them died. More, you know, Alice and Lilia. Lilia in particular. Well, maybe Alice. Sorry, Alice in particular, because she literally just broke her generational curse. And I like the conversation that she has with Death, where she's like, I don't get more time than this. She's like, well, you're protection witch, right? You died protecting somebody, which is basically Death's way of saying, no, you don't. So let's go. So I just appreciate stakes, right? It's nobody likes to see people they like die, but in reality, people do die. And that's, you know, people, they don't come back. So yeah, I had a fun, amazing time with Agatha All Along. And I am so excited to see where the MCU goes next. I know we're gearing up for some young Avengers. You know, we're assembling the team. It would be great to see all of those young actors in like their own show or something like that too, because I just don't know how you're gonna mix them in with like a big movie too. But yeah, I would love to see all of the young actors who are the young Avengers come back in like their TV show, because some of them we haven't seen in a while. Like we haven't seen America in a minute, or Kamala, or Kate. You know, I didn't know they were making a Hawkeye season 2, but I guess we're getting that. I would love a Miss Marvel season 2, just throwing that out there. Anyway, so yeah, tell me what you think in the comments below. Did you love the show? Did you like it? Are you excited for Vision Quest, which will be the trilogy for this series in the, I don't know, the WandaVision family series? I don't know what we're calling it. But yeah, just let me know in the comments below what you think. Okay, that's my time. Catch you later. Bye.